let us welcome Kathleen Auterio.
Much slower, like, hi.
Step right up.
Thank you. Hi, I was hatched here, but I live in San Francisco now. But this is a Massachusetts story. So I was about 15, and I was in Billerica or Tewksbury or somewhere. And we were hanging out in an apartment doing nothing like you do in Billerica or Tewksbury. And a friend went off to work, and I didn't notice because I was engaged with a ficus tree because I was on acid. Eventually, some of the guys said, let's take the girls to Dudley Road. So we get in 2 sedans, and Dudley Road was supposed to be this haunted place with, like, smog, like, hanging over a swamp. And it probably is, because like the whole of Massachusetts is, a haunted place. So we have 2 rear-wheel drive sedans, and all the girls are in the back seat of the front one, and we head out to Dudley Road. And we get on the road, and it's just dirt and huge potholes, and so we have to go super slow. And there's swamp gas, like, coming up to the windows. And I'm a huge horror fan, so I'm like, yes, this isn't boring, and I'm on acid. Cool. So the guy in the passenger seat, like, starts narrating, and he says, up ahead, there's an abandoned mental hospital, and there were nuns running the hospital, and the patients turned against them. And I was like, okay, that's probably true. Like, Massachusetts in general is like a mental hospital run by nuns. And then he said they had to abandon the land because it was evil, and the patients rose up and killed the nuns. And for a second, I'm thinking, okay, 10 years of Catholic school, ghost nuns. Yeah, nuns are scary enough alive, and nobody said there'd be ghost nuns. So I'm like, yeah, whatever, I'm cool. I'm not going to be the one who's scared. And my 2 friends are over here, and one of them's sitting right over there. And I'm like, yeah, I'm cool, whatever. Acid. And then we're driving along, and then my friend narrates again. If you look really hard at that tree. And I'm like, don't look at the tree, don't look at the tree. Because I'm on acid. And he's like, you can see the twisted faces in the bark. I'm like, don't look at the tree, don't look at the tree. Yep, nuns. Okay. And I'm like, nope, totally cool, too cool for school. And I'm like, this is awesome, right? And my 2 friends over here are just like, my friend who's here, she does this thing where she picks her lip when she's like, I'm done with this. And yeah, they're just like, And then I turn my head, and I think I see someone straight ahead, but I'm like, no, I'm not gonna say it. And then the driver says, is there someone in the road up there? And I'm like, yes. And I'm like, hey, we should leave. And he's like, yeah. And so we start honking the horn and flashing the lights and backing up, but we have to go really slow. And I look behind me, and then all of a sudden we hear a thud. The thing in the middle of the road has jumped on our hood and onto the roof of the car. In a stunning act of bravery, the 2 men in the front of the car, the car stops, the brakes are applied, and these guys bail into the night. Yeah. Heroes. Yep. So I'm thinking of every horror movie I've ever seen, and I'm like, okay, enact a plan. And this was one of those cars where there was no back door. You had to push the seat forward to get out. So I'm like, push the seat forward, pull the door shut, pull that door shut, and drive until you're on the rims. And I'm thinking it over and over again. I'm like, okay, and I enact it. Push the seat forward, and they're screaming. We're all just screaming, just like the horror movies. And I go to shut the door, and this hand comes down and grabs my neck. And I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Really? okay, what are you doing in the horror? Oh, really heavy door. So I'm like slamming the door, really, and I'm like, this should work, right? I've watched so many horror movies. And the hand is like actually being hit. And I see like silver and like a knife. And like at one of the slams, I see that the knife moves weird. And then I kind of like pull the arm. And it's Freddy Krueger. And it's really Freddy Krueger. Like, it's entirely Freddy Krueger. And I like pull this person down, and I'm thinking, am I asleep? And I realize it's my friend who went to work. He actually went and did an amazing makeup job of my favorite movie villain, went out to Dudley Road, stood there, and waited for us to drive out there. And then we get there, and he's like, "Are you mad?" And I was like, actually, this is kind of one of the coolest things anyone's ever done for me. Thanks.